Thank you, Robin, and thank you, Cheryl, and thanks to all of you for coming for an important day for us in terms of marking our history and thinking about the way forward on this. We wanted to have a celebration, not just an anniversary, not just a, hey, we've reached 10 years, but a celebration for the Family Violence Clearinghouse, because it is our national center for family and violence information. This is something that a lot of people have worked over a lot of years to create, and it doesn't happen by accident. And it's one of those things with a clearinghouse, as Joe said, it's an unusual label, okay? Sometimes people think it's a sale. One of the most frequent questions we get asked is, what is a clearinghouse, okay? And if you haven't encountered it, people don't know what it does. And it's my pleasure really to talk today about what the clearinghouse has done and how it has taken the really solid roots that we were handed and to think about how we've grown over the last 4 years. The clearinghouse has been housed at the University of Auckland since 2011, initially with funding from the Families Commission. And in the first year we did a relaunch and a rebuild of the website, because as Cheryl says, things move on over time. So while we had inherited really good bones from the people who had established the clearinghouse, it was time for a refresh in 2011. So those are pictures from the original relaunch in November of 2011. And we've had the contract, as I say, for 4 years. We were fortunate enough to get a rollover of that contract from 2014 now through with funding through 2017 from Subaru. And as part of that initial rebuild, as Cheryl already mentioned, one of the really important people there as part of the establishment of the clearinghouse was Jessica Trask. Jessica was the outreach coordinator originally when the clearinghouse sat at the Ministry of Social Development, and she moved with the clearinghouse here to us at the University of Auckland. She can't be here today, but she sent us a message. How do we get the message to go? The magic button.
Kia ora koutou, my name is Jessica Trask, and I had the pleasure of being the outreach coordinator for the clearinghouse from the period 2008 to 2011.
I might just pause it a bit louder. We're just going for the volume controls, folks.
Kia ora koutou, my name is Jessica Trask, and I had the pleasure of being the outreach coordinator for the clearinghouse from the period 2008 to 2011. I moved to Wellington to take up the role that had been left vacant by the fabulous Cheryl Hand, who had gone to work with the It's Not OK campaign. At the time, the project team was Raywin Good, and Philip Worthington and myself. Raywin had been instrumental in establishing the clearinghouse, working with Cheryl Hand to do the budget bid and lay the foundation for this exciting project. What really attracted me to the project was the opportunity to be involved in connecting frontline practitioners and policymakers with some of the best high quality evidence-based information that was around. As we know, there's so much information out there, but getting it to the right people at the right time and the right format is something we haven't really been that great at historically. I really enjoyed working with Janet and Robin and Gay and the team at the clearinghouse. I was especially thrilled to when the project was retendered and the University of Auckland became the new home of the clearinghouse. I think it's really poised to achieve some fantastic outcomes and is well supported to do so. It would be great to see it get some more resource. I think so much goes on behind the scenes with a project like the clearinghouse, and there's so much scope and so much opportunity, but really until the project is resourced really, really well, it will continue to do the very best it can with what it has. Yeah, I'd like to wish everyone the best and a happy 10th birthday. I'm very sorry I can't be there to celebrate with you today. It's certainly an achievement and a milestone, but I look forward to being there for the 20th and 30th birthdays. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
So Cheryl indicated, and as Jessica's talked about, and as we've seen, really the mission hasn't changed. We are thinking about the role of the clearinghouse is about accessing high quality information that's crucial to ensuring success and the way forward. And the partnership idea hasn't changed, really about trying to think about how we sit in our role as trying to support the practice community, support the policy community, support the research community, and really think about how we position ourselves and the information we provide around that. And we couldn't do it without the support of our advisory groups. So we have both an academic advisory group and a sector advisory group, and we have some members of our advisory groups here today. Anyone with a, yeah? Can we get the advisory group members to wave their hands? Come on, Jane, you're on the advisory group. All right, Hazel over there. Okay, so there's a few. But that's also the bit about thinking that it isn't, information isn't useful unless you know what people need to know, and unless you know how people are going to position that and how it's going to be useful for people. So our advisory group members are a crucial part about what informs us with what we do. In terms of what we try and do, in terms of the knowledge that we push out, we do have a very wide range of outputs that we put out. So on the left-hand column, you can see some of the things that this team has managed to accomplish. So we have an active and well-functioning website, which is searchable for people to actually go and look for their own information on topics that they're interested in. We have a monthly newsletter, the Pānui, which is a summary of news and events, current research, other positionings. We have data summaries, which we put out, issues, papers, selected bibliographies. We do seminars. We have a hard copy lending library. We do strategic literature searches. And one of my personal favorites, which I think is not well known, is the searchable timeline of family violence activity that goes back to 1867. Okay, as a way of finding out information about the whole history of our country's response to this issue. And I do just want to highlight the bit about the strategic literature searches or selected bibliographies. It's one of the curses, I think, in the clearinghouse world of that. The idea of academic information doesn't always sound so exciting. Okay, like a selected bibliography. Sort of what's the point? But I have to say that the point about some of our selected bibliographies, they're selected for a reason. Okay, so a selected bibliography might be, if you want to figure out what's the best way to start getting your head around responses to perpetrators of family violence, here's your starting point. Here's the key resources that you need to start with. And think about what a gift that is in the world of responses, trying to think about that. Or this idea of a selected literature search. Okay, it doesn't sound very exciting, does it? But then you think about that positioning and that partnership role. So some of our selected, some of our strategic literature searches have been around, okay, the police in our country are launching a national internal family violence change program to think about how policing about family violence will occur over our country. So our strategic literature searches are about what is the worldwide response, what's the best academic literature, and how can we pull that together and hand it to the police to inform all of their work streams. The other thing is other examples of strategic literature searches. So if our government is thinking about how it's going to reform family violence legislation in our country, then our strategic literature searches, again, are that worldwide look of best practice, that worldwide look of what's happening in other countries and what's the academic and evidence support behind that to inform our government as they think about what they're going to do, and to inform people on the ground when they're thinking about responding and making submissions on that. So it looks a little bit dull on a list, but I really want to emphasize the importance and the impact of what it is that we do. and the range of people that we serve. So the other thing that happens with a clearinghouse is that if it's functioning well, people tend to think that it's seamless and tend to think that it's just there, that the website just works and they can just hop on whenever they want. Or the magic Pānui just pops into their inbox once a month and gives them access to all of this cool stuff. So what I would like to do is I would like to just have a little opportunity to say, well, since no birthday party would be complete without a party game, I would like to introduce the Clearinghouse Quiz. All right? So can I ask you to reach for your little pieces of blue paper? You have to remember this is the last week of semester here at university, so we're all about the assessment now. Some people are making a getaway. Lock the door, okay? All right. So you get to self-score, all right? There's 10 questions. They're all multi-choice. You're allowed to guess. All right, so my first question is how many unique visitors visited the Clearinghouse website last year? All right, take a guess. You've got your answers out of those choices. Circle your best answer. How many do you think visited the Clearinghouse website last year? No, just take a guess. Yeah, no shouting from the front, okay? All right, how many? All right, here's the answer. Over 42,000. And I have to say that this is a number that I have actually been bandying around, so maybe people just tune out so that you don't know the answer. I'm excited about this number because when the Clearinghouse moved to the University of Auckland, we didn't actually know how many users was going to be a usable, a number. And we had to put an estimate in there in the contract, and we estimated 20,000. Okay? So when we've got over 42,000 unique visitors looking for information, we're excited. All right, how many subscribers currently directly receive the monthly Pānui? Now this is a test of your listening, because Nairi actually gave us the answer earlier. Just take a guess. There's prizes later, okay? All right. Over 3,000 people directly receive our monthly Pānui and summary. And this is a whopping increase since we got the Clearinghouse here at the University of Auckland in 2011. And the other thing that I want to say about this number is that this is the number that we send it out to directly. We know that this summary goes farther. We know that Plunkett takes the newsletter and distributes it to most of their Plunkett workers. They send it on through their own internal networks. We know that a lot of the regional family violence network coordinators send the Pānui on as well. So we know these numbers are big. And we know that it keeps increasing. The 3,300 was in June, and we've had another couple of hundred just this week. All right, how many issues papers has the New Zealand Family Violence Clearinghouse published? Okay, so issues papers are our collection of and our readily digestible summary of key topics in the field. All right, and we usually do 2 a year. Now, issues papers are one of those things. Again, it's about what's a hot topic in the field, and here's your ready summary of understanding what the positioning is on this field. Yeah, how many do you think we've done? 10. We would have liked to do 10. I was hoping for 10 for the 10th, but they're a lot of work, I have to say. So we've done 9, and 9 is the correct answer because we've actually just put out another one today on risk assessment. I will let you accept 8 as a correct answer, okay, if you're working with yesterday's information. But again, issues papers are one of those things where people look at them and say, oh, this is great, this is just what I need. And that was the response when we actually sent, our current one is on risk assessment, and about basic understanding about risk assessment, which is a really, really hot topic through all of our government networks and through a lot of our practitioners at the moment, about how do we assess risk, what are the things that we need to know about that. And so, so we position them around topics, but you have to remember that for us, 2 a year doesn't sound like much unless you think that it takes sort of 6 months to a year to actually pull these things together to distill the literature in this way. We're already working on the ones for next year, okay? All right. This is one of our issues papers, the Kaupapa Māori Wellbeing Framework, the basis for wellbeing, whānau violence prevention. How many times do you think this issues paper has been downloaded?
The most.
The most, absolutely. This is to date our most downloaded issues paper. It's been downloaded over 5,000 times. And this issues paper has actually been used, it's actually on the reading list for various, for the wānanga, isn't it? In terms of actually, so it's core reading for students going forward. All right. How many data summaries do we publish each year? So data summaries are the distillation of all of the government data that we can find, the routine government data on homicides, on health data. Where else does it come from? Police data, court data. All right? To try to pull together into an accessible format. How many of these do you think we publish each year? All right? We publish 5. All right? But if you also circled 6, I'll give you that because we also do a snapshot. All right. Okay. All right. How many times was the snapshot downloaded since last year? Just make a guess. Are you going to miss out on the lollies? Okay. Almost 2,500 times is how widely this information is used. Oh, it's E. All right. Typo. Whoops. All right, we're moving right on. How many community engagements have the Clearinghouse staff carried out since 2011? All right? Engagement is the stuff that we do when we go out to other people's meetings, when we have one-on-one meetings, when we actually push information out to people in response to their strategic needs or topics that they're working on. All right? So we've done over 6,000. And in the last year alone, we've done over 200. Okay, so Nicola, our community lead, does a lot of these, but it's actually shared across the sector. Okay, and we do presentations, but we also do a lot where, because of the networks we have and our understanding of the projects that we're working on, we keep an eye on the international literature and feed people direct information that is going to be relevant or make connections across the sector. All right. How many information requests have we had since 2011? All right, almost 1,000 that we've answered. That's a lot for a small team, and over 200 in the last year. All right, well, that's no help. How many people, all right, there you go, your free answer. How many people work at the Clearinghouse? 7. All right, can I get the Clearinghouse team up here? We're missing one today, but come on, Claire. Darn, that pop-up didn't work. All right, come over. All right. So we want to introduce the team who does all of these amazing things. All right, you starting?
Yeah, no,
All right.
that's fine.
All right. So Oh, I'm first up.
You're first up.
I'm
yeah.
first up.
Yeah.
So this is Nicola Payton, who probably many of you in the room know already. So Nicola is our the clearinghouse manager and the community liaison lead. So Nicola maintains an extraordinary number of relationships around around the country, really keeping tabs on what people need, what their information needs are. But she also does that in the context where she actually keeps a really wide eye on the international literature and national phenomena to think about how she can connect people up. So we're lucky to have her, and I'm just moving back by the
Okay, would you just take a step forward so people know who's talking? Huh?
Might want to
Gay,
get by
oh, sorry,
the mic.
yeah, the mic. Gay's our information specialist, and she's a mine of information, as any of you who have rung her up asking her for a request. And the fact is, if Gay doesn't know where to find it, it probably doesn't exist. Of course, she not only responds cheerfully to your request for information, but she works closely with Nicola, and they're continually striving to improve the services through adaptations to the website and introductions of new features. I think one of the most recent ones has been very popular, and that's the alert system. And she's responsible for pulling together the monthly pānui we talked about, along with the help of Nicola and the other team members. And of course, she maintains our lending library. Thank you, and well done, Gay.
All right, next up is Pauline Gulliver, our research fellow. The initial clearinghouse, when it was originally established at the University of Canterbury, didn't have a research fellow attached to the position and attached to the centre. And Robin and I were both very keen that we understand that in addition to distilling other people's information, part of the role of a clearinghouse is actually about producing and understanding the information we've got. So Pauline, many of you might know, is the lady who puts together the data summaries, which is no small feat in itself. But she also writes some of the issues papers, but she also writes a range of academic publications. So very much in that space about producing new knowledge, about trying to fill some of the gaps in what we need to know. So we're glad to have Pauline as well.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
So
All right.
the next, we've got one person missing, but I'll talk about Claire first. And Claire is Claire has had a long history in family violence and working in the area. She's worked as a research officer at AUT with Professor Jane McLean, who's here today. Importantly, she's a mum with two young boys, and she lives in Tauranga, so she's our remote staff member. Yeah. Claire works remotely, and she assists Nicola and Gay to source information, scan for news research, write the news that you find on the website and in the monthly pānui. And although you're not here with us every day, Claire, we think of you often, and we really appreciate your contribution. Thank you.
And the seventh team member, who sadly can't join us today, is Deborah Warren, who is our IT support. She's not able to attend because of illness today, but she sends her apologies. But Deborah is again one of those. It's the work that's unseen, but the fact that actually the website always works when you go to it, that you can find what you're looking for, that all of the upgrades happen seamlessly. All of that stuff, you always know when a website is not working, right? But the fact that the Clearinghouse website always works is a real tribute to Deborah, who is not here with us today. All right, so we're almost on our last number. You going to hold with me for a second? All right. So the next question, the last question, which hopefully doesn't have the answer, all right, is how many full-time equivalents do we have? We've got 7 people. None of us work full-time. And you've seen the range of outputs that we put out. What's our FTE that we're actually funded for? All right. Take your guess. Okay. So now I want you to applaud this team.